It had been a gloomy day. Katie learned that sometimes, no matter how hard you wish, the clouds like to stay in the sky. Orbie discovered that the end of the rainbow is a whole lot further away than you think. And they both found out that little toy sailboats float in puddles. Nothing too exciting had happened all day. Katie and Orbie had called up all their friends, and no one was home. Mom had a visitor coming over, so they couldn't go to the museum. And it looked as if the whole day was going to be boring. As Katie was reading her book for the fourth time, the doorbell rang. It was Mom's guest. Katie and Orbie just sat in the living room and didn't answer the door. They didn't look up when Mom opened up the door. They didn't even move when Mom's guest walked in. But when they heard the voice of what sounded like a little girl, they both jumped up and ran to the door. The woman smiled at Katie and Orbie. "I brought my granddaughter Kyra with me because her dad is busy today. I thought you might like a visitor too." Orbie did a backflip and Katie clapped her hands. This was an excellent idea. It turned out that Kyra was a lot of fun. They made rope trails all the way through the backyard. They used the hose and 2 skipping ropes. Katie and Kyra tiptoed along the trail, but Orbie walked along on his hands. Kyra was very impressed. Katie was very proud. She told Kyra that Orbie was just like that. He could do all kinds of things. Next, they played clue hide and seek. You had to leave a clue on the porch. Orbie left an old shoe, and Kyra and Katie found him in the clothes closet. Kyra left a bar of soap, and they found her in the bathroom. Katie left a pillow, and Kyra and Orbie found her under the covers on her bed. After that, they dressed up as a dragon, a princess, and a terrified knight. Orbie was the dragon, who just wanted to be friends. Kyra was a princess who was his friend. Katie was the knight who was very afraid of the dragon and did everything to hide from it. It was really funny, especially when the dragon kissed the terrified knight. Everybody laughed. The clouds were lighter now, and so they had chocolate milk and oatmeal cookies like a picnic. It was a fabulous afternoon and would have been perfect, except that during a pillow fight, Kyra began to make a raspy sound, and she started to cough. She held her hand up in the air to tell her friends to stop for a minute. Orbie didn't notice because he decided to try a pillow flip. Katie did. Katie asked if anything was wrong. Kyra made a strange noise. She couldn't talk. Katie moved to her to see if she could help. Kyra looked at Katie and then started to run out of the room. Katie wasn't sure what to do, so she did the best thing she knew, which was to call her mom. Mom and her guest met the children at the bottom of the stairs. Kyra's grandmother saw that Kyra was in trouble, and she hurried to get her purse. Kyra made a sound like a bark, and Orbie thought it was really neat, but Katie pointed out that it wasn't. Orbie didn't understand. Everybody stood back while Kyra's grandmother shook a little container. She told them that Kyra would be fine, but now she needed to puff on her puffer. When Kyra's grandmother checked the puffer, it was ready. She attached a long tube to it, and there was a nose and a mouth mask on the end. Kyra held the mask to her face, and she didn't even seem afraid. Orbie was very proud of Kyra. Her grandmother squirted the puffer into the tube, and Kyra took big breaths in and out. As Kyra was breathing the puffer mist in and out, her grandmother explained to Katie and Orbie that Kyra had asthma. It was a disease that affected her breathing. Sometimes, if Kyra played a little too hard or ran around a little too much, it started her asthma. Kyra took the mask off. she told Katie and Orbie that she had to wait a few minutes until she could take her next puff. Katie noticed that her breathing was starting to sound normal. Kyra told them that she had had asthma for a long time. Sometimes it really bugged her, especially right in the middle of a great pillow fight. Kyra's grandmother shook the container again as she suggested that maybe they give the pillow fight a rest and consider drawing for a while. She told Katie and Orbie that Kyra was very good at drawing. Katie hurried out of the kitchen to get her art box. Kyra put her mask on again and did her breathing. Orbie wanted to try the mask too. Mom told Orbie that the mask was full of medicine that Kyra needed, but he didn't. She reminded him that medicine, when it isn't especially given to you by a doctor, is poison. You never touch it, unless the doctor says so. Orbie nodded his head. He knew about medicines. Orbie was very worried about Kyra. Her grandmother put her arm around him and told him that as long as Kyra was careful and she took her medicine, there was nothing at all to worry about. She added that there are a lot of children with asthma. Orbie leaned over and gave Kyra a little kiss. He didn't like any of his friends to feel sick. Kyra smiled at her new friend. She really liked playing with him and Katie. In a minute, Katie was back with just about every art thing she had in the house. Mom cleared off the kitchen table, and it was ready to work on. When Kyra was all finished her medicine, she, Katie, and Orbie set to work. Kyra drew a picture of her dad, who was working. Katie drew a picture of Chance, sitting in the middle of the garden. Orbie drew a picture of his new friend, Kyra, and she was wearing her mask. Kyra liked it so much that she asked if she could take it home. Orbie smiled, and Katie gave it to her. When it was time to go, Katie asked if Kyra could come back again one day. Kyra's grandmother said she certainly could. Kyra did visit many times. Sometimes she needed her puffer. And it wasn't long before Katie and Orbie met other people who had asthma too, because a lot of people do.